Hey everybody, it's your friendly neighborhood gadget inspector here. Today we're checking out this Neewer 31.5 inch motorized slider. Now I've already shown you the kinds of shots you can get with it. It's easy, y'all. Later in the video, I'm going to show you how to set this thing up step by step because the included instructions are terrible. You can just throw them away. But first, let me show you everything you get. So you get a storage bag. It doesn't accommodate the slider with the motor installed, so you'll have to remove it to use the bag. But it's a good idea to do that anyway because the belt could easily get damaged otherwise. The motor comes in this case here and all the screws and the wrenches that you'll need as well. The micro USB cable to charge the motor and a bunch of shutter cables to connect to your camera for time lapses. You also get a battery and a battery charger. Okay, now I'm going to tell you what I like and what I don't like. Build quality is excellent. The tracks are carbon fiber tubes and everything else is metal. The rollers are metal as well. Now the one thing I'm not a big fan of is the belt. It's just really thin, and if you're not careful, I think you could snap this thing. Now keep in mind it has a 3/8 inch thread, so you're going to need either a ball head adapter or fluid head to mount your camera. The slider itself has both 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch threads for mounting to a tripod on the bottom and also on either end. And it has a level. Now the footage speaks for itself, so you can see for yourself how smoothly the slider operates, but it's not completely quiet. It's not super loud, but if you're going to rely on audio anywhere near this slider, most likely it's going to pick up the whining sound the motor makes. You can remove the belt and the motor altogether and use it manually, which would eliminate the noise, and it's just a nice option to have in general. It has adjustable legs. And this dial here is basically a brake. One of my absolute favorite things about this slider is the ability to pan as it moves from left to right. You just have to adjust these tighteners on the ends, and the middle track will cause this dial to turn. So you can change things up a bit based on what you're shooting. Okay, let's get into the step-by-step setup now. Hey y'all, so this is the Neewer Motorized slider. It's 31.5 inches, and just to give you some context, this is a non-motorized slider by Gadget. This one is 15.7 inches. So you can see this sucker is long. Okay, I want to get right into the video here because if you have one of these sliders or if you're thinking about getting one, you're going to need a lot of help putting it together. Let's just say the included instructions are not, they're just bad. The instructions are bad, y'all. So it took me about an hour to figure out how to get this thing set up. So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not gonna break it all back down and put it back together for this video, but I think I can show you how to get this done well enough. All right, so just follow along with me, okay? Now, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is flip the slider over. Okay, just flip it over just like this. Okay, so you see the sliding platform here with these red tighteners on this side? Okay, it's on the opposite side that you're gonna be installing everything. Okay, you can see the motor here, you can see the rubber belt here, and the brackets. Now the first bracket that's attached to the slider here has 3 holes. Okay, I've already attached it, obviously. Now the screws you're going to use, make sure you use the screws that allow this bottom bracket to lay flat on the top. So it's flat on the top here, because you're going to have to put another bracket on top of it. Now that bottom bracket there has a little bit of an indentation, and that's where the belt is going to lie on. It's going to lay flat right in that indentation there. Okay, and they do provide you with the screws and an Allen wrench, so go ahead and use those. They're hex screws, so go ahead and use the Allen wrench, bolt that down, and again, make sure you use the screws that screw down so they're not protruding. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to lay the belt with the teeth facing up. You're going to lay it flat in that indentation that I mentioned on that bottom bracket. Okay, now you should have about, let's say about a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of extra belt hanging over the end here. Okay, so just install it just like that. Now you're going to have another bracket. This one only has 2 holes in it. This one right here, see that? Now on the other side of this bracket are these little ridges. You want those ridges to be facing down, okay? So lay it on top of the other bracket that you just installed with the belt laying flat with teeth upward, and then you're just going to use the screws just like you see it here. And you can see there's a larger hex screw here that will protrude, and that's okay. But go ahead and just bolt that down and you're good to go. And you can kind of see here the ridges on that top bracket that I mentioned. You want that to be facing down. Now make sure you're really careful with this belt because it's pretty thin. I think you could snap it really easily. So just make sure when you're handling it that you're not pulling on it or stretching it or anything like that, because I think you could easily snap this thing. Okay, now you're gonna do the same thing you did on this side on the other side of the slider, the same exact thing. But before you do that, you gotta grab the motor, okay? So grab the motor and you're gonna lay it down and route that belt just like you see it here. Let me make sure I can zoom in here so you can see that. So you see that main gear here and the 2 smaller gears here. So that's how it should be. That's how you should lay it. And then you can see how you route the belt through there, okay? Very, very simple. So just make sure you do it like that. And then just route the belt over to the other end, just like you did here with the brackets. You're gonna do the same thing. You should have about a 1/2 inch of belt hanging over the end. And the belt should be taut, but not tight. So you can kind of see how mine is. See that? There's some play there. You don't want it to be super tight, okay? Because like I said, this thing could snap really easily, I think. Okay, now what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna flip the slider over and bolt the motor to the slider. Okay, so you're gonna have to be a little bit careful when you do that. And there are 2 screws here where you would attach it to the sliding platform here. Okay, so you can see that. Make sure you can see that there. Okay, so that's how the motor attaches to the slider. Okay, now you can just install the battery, just like so. Just slide it on in here. And you've got this Velcro strap that you can use to tighten it, just like so. Okay, this button here, that's the power button. So you push that button, that'll get the motor turned on, and you're almost ready to start sliding, baby. Okay, now to actually control the slider, you're going to need to download this app. It's called the Zhiying app. It's gonna appear in Mandarin or Chinese or whatever that is, but just type in Zhiying. This is what the icon looks like, okay? And download that. I already have it, but there's the app there. So let's go ahead and open that up. Now you're gonna have to power on the motor. It's going to emit a Bluetooth signal. And that's how you connect to the slider. So you see the signal there. Let's connect. Connection success. Okay, now, every time you open the app and connect to the slider, you're gonna have to set your endpoints. And this is one thing that I don't really like, because I can see it slowing me down. It doesn't take that long to do, but basically what you have to do is you have to send the slider to each end of the slider in order to set the A and B points. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna click the left arrow, and you see the slider is moving down to the other end of the slider, and we're gonna set the A point. And that's just so when you start to use the slider, it will know where to stop and start. I'll take it just to about there. Click the shutter button in the middle. Okay, we've set the A point. Let's go down and do B. And this is the speed you can expect. You can slow it down, but this is as fast as it moves. But you can see it's a nice, constant, steady rate, and it's pretty darn smooth. Okay, I think that does it. Point B. And we're all set. Now, when you push the button here, it's going to move on its own. And once it gets to the end, it's going to stop and reverse and go down to the other end. And you can see right here where it says reverse, you can turn that on and off. So when it's on, it's going to go to one end, stop, and head back to the other end. Now, if you set your endpoints, a little bit too far, it'll hit this thing here, the end of the slider, and it'll kind of like jiggle a little bit. So, just be careful when you're setting those endpoints. I think I did a pretty good job on mine there. Okay, and you can control the speed. This is full speed. I'm slowing it down now. Can't see any reason really to slow it down because you can do all that in post. Okay, y'all, I'm about to get up out of here, but thanks for checking out the Gadget Inspector channel. I'm into all kinds of drones and all kinds of gadgets. If you're into that kind of stuff, you're in the right place. So please consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click that bell, or else you may never know when I upload another video. All right, I appreciate you. Be good to somebody, be good to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.